This is Jillian G, and you are listening to the Black Synergy Podcast, where we are stronger together. Welcome to the Black Synergy Podcast. On this episode, I had a conversation with makeup artist and entrepreneur Mimi J. Mimi and I spoke about how passion, consistency, and an amazing network are keys to success. Enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of the Black Synergy Podcast. Today, my guest is Mimi J, makeup artist to the stars. Some of her clients include Angela Simmons, Da Brat, Erica Dixon from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and most recently, Issa Rae. Mimi, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So glad to have you here. All right, now, y'all, Mimi and I go way back to middle school, right? Lincoln Prep Middle
School.
Oh my God. Like we go all the way back to like watching the original episodes of Martin and like coming back to school talking about it the next day. Oh my God.
That's crazy.
I know.
I think we've known each other for more than 20 years.
Right? Wow. All right. So girl, you have so much going on right now. So let's get right into it. So tell me how your journey began and how you got into makeup.
Sure. So I did the quote unquote traditional thing and went to college here in Atlanta. And when I first got to school, let me backtrack. I've always been artistic. And when I got to college, I wanted to be a fashion designer. And then the practical reasoning got in my ear and said, you can do that on the side, but you should get a degree you can get a job in. So that was my goal in college, is to get a degree I can get a job. So I got a business degree, but I was always that artistic friend who did my friend's makeup. It never really dawned on me until I was in a career in IT. And I used to travel a lot, and I was a designated makeup artist out of my friends. And one trip to New York, one of my friends was like, you know what, you're really good at this. Like, you should be a makeup artist. And I had never thought about it before until then. But I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So I just said, it's fun. Let me just try it. And I did just that. I called 3 of my friends over one Saturday morning and did their makeup, made my own business card, and just started networking and passing the card out. And I stuck to it, and one thing led to another, and here I am.
So was it difficult getting into the industry?
Well, you know what? It's all in timing, right? So I started makeup not knowing anything industry related, right? I just knew art. Mm-hmm. And once I started doing my research and looking around, if you're going to be in any field, the research comes first, right? And education. So I started educating myself more on the craft and understanding who came before me and who's the top of the top and who's the top in my city. And I started learning those things in the culture and just started advancing from there. I will say when I started, I think that it was an advantage and a disadvantage at the same time. The advantage is I started before Atlanta started becoming this Black Hollywood, or not just Black Hollywood, it's just Hollywood now, right?
Yeah.
In the South.
Yeah, it really has become like a Black Mecca of sorts.
Yeah, but I say that, but then it's not just Black. Actually, I think we've actually surpassed California right now. So It's not just a Black. It started that way because people think of Tyler Perry, but I just worked with The Rock on a big at a Sony studio I didn't know existed last week. So I started before all of that happened, which gave me an advantage versus someone starting out now and trying to build a name. So that's an advantage of things. But I will say, starting now, there's still an advantage because of social media. It's a plus and a minus. The plus is you have access to people you would never have access to unless you were in a room with them or had a direct connection. Now you can DM people. Now you can get brands' attentions from your own efforts, so that is an advantage. Now sorting through, who's really just doing this for popularity or are they really talented, that's a different discussion.
Right.
But I mean, overall, if it's something that you're really, really passionate about, I think passion takes people to the next level, because this is one of those industries, like most arts, you're not going to make the money in the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. And you're doing this off of passion and hoping that passion turns into a profit. And then learning the business side of it. How do I make this passion into a profit? So I think understanding the difference between the two and knowing going into something, you're not going to make a lot of money in the beginning. So it's setting those expectations is very important.
Right. That's very good advice. Very good advice. So did you ever in your wildest dreams think that this is the life you'd be living, that you'd be makeup artist to the stars, you get a chance to travel, see the world? I mean, you met The Rock last week. Like, how does that feel for you?
I never imagined. I've always been optimistic, but it goes to show you that you just have to be open and willing and have faith in your journey. And sometimes that journey takes you to a totally different place that you never imagined. One thing I would say with that also is your relationships. Your network is your net worth. And every big opportunity I've ever had has been a connection through someone else, a word of mouth or a referral. I remember starting out and, I was new and I was hungry, but I also understood that concept of networking and being a good person. I helped people along the way and vice versa. And those same people, we help each other to this day. So that's really, really important. I think, in this millennial world, everyone believes in microwave success. And that's just, some of us are so lucky, maybe that 10%, but it's not a microwave success situation. These things take time to nurture and grow. So, don't get discouraged if you're not getting that response. In the beginning, it takes time and effort to get where you want to be.
So is that the advice that you would give to Mimi, back in the day when you were, first starting out fresh in the game?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my journey is a little different because I didn't always want to be this makeup artist. It's just something that I fell into. What I will say is consistency is something that I would have told my younger self. Mm-hmm. I say that because, great example, I started a YouTube channel back in 2010. And this is about the time that I was, quote unquote, about to become emancipated from my job. And, I was on it. I was making these videos. I had access to people who are, real celebrities now, mm-hmm. And I started blowing up in my makeup artistry. And I abandoned the YouTube part of it because I was getting busy. And I just wish that I would have stuck to that, because who knows where that YouTube channel could have been right now. So that's something that I would say to my younger self. Just be consistent in your efforts. You never know where they're going to take you.
Right. That's very, very good advice. Now, in what ways do you think you've grown from back then to where you are now?
That's like a full circle question. I think right now, my shift is still shifting, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
But my shift really started when I had my son, right? Mm-hmm. So I was, very successful on my own as a freelance artist. And I was working on shows like Love and Hip Hop and Real Housewives and getting those calls, and things were great. I had my son, and then I had to reevaluate and shift my way of thinking and my way of working. And I started to think, what's my exit strategy? Because Now you have a son, and who knows, you could have a family, you could have more kids, you start to think like that. Mm-hmm. And, on top of that, my son has special needs. So he needs more of my time. So how can I make this still work? And that's when I started thinking, how can I make money in my sleep? How can I build something that can be passed on through generational wealth? Those are the things that I started thinking about. And that's why I created the Glamatory, in hopes that, hey, that could be franchisable. Hey, I can build my own makeup under that brand name. That it creates so many umbrellas. I'm training up other makeup artists under me, So that's when my shift started to take a turn and started to become really serious.
Okay, so tell me more about the Glamatory.
Yes, so the Glamatory, of course, is my baby. We've been open a little over 2 years now. I have a brick and mortar store in the Atlanta area, and I sell makeup brands, some of them that you might recognize, and others I take an interest in, Black-owned and women-owned businesses in beauty. So I have brands that are emerging as well as our own brands. So I have, we sell makeup. And then I also have a team of some exceptional artists here in Atlanta that also provide beauty services within the store too. So you can come in and you can shop and you can get glammed at the Glamatory.
Okay. So in addition to the Glamatory, I know you've recently established Grind Pretty. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it started out of passion as well. As I got into my makeup career and, started getting popular, I noticed more entrepreneurs, more women entrepreneurs started gravitating towards me. And the conversation started to not be about beauty. It was about business. And I really have a passion for helping other women in business, starting their businesses, answering questions. And so I wanted to create a platform that addressed those things. So Grind Pretty is a platform where you can go and be inspired, connect, and be educated on things that'll help you, whether you're climbing the corporate ladder or you are establishing your own business.
For those of you listening, sign up for I actually get the emails, and I love the sense of, there's a strong sense of sisterhood, and I just love the empowerment of women, whether they're entrepreneurs or, like you said, climbing the corporate ladder. And, there's definitely always some very, very sound advice in the email. So for those of you that are listening, check out Grind Pretty and sign up for the newsletters. They're very, very informative, very informative.
Thank you. It's hard to keep up with all this stuff.
Right. You have so much going on. It's like the Mimi J takeover of all forms of media, and I know you have the Graduates. Tell me about the Graduates. What is that?
Yeah. So we just had our season finale. I think actually the 30th. So was that last week or something like that? Anyway, it was a great show that I had the pleasure of being on Aspire TV. And the show was to bring a positive light on HBCUs. We were all HBCU graduates here in Atlanta. And, it's a sad thing that we have to fight for our HBCU's validity these days. Mm-hmm. And, that was part of the reason why I signed on to that show. One, to show, there's still a need for HBCUs. I just saw a Morehouse student last week just signed a deal with Sesame Street off of a biology remix rap that he did. That's exceptional.
Yeah, I saw that too. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's so many great stories, and HBCUs are needed. We don't have the images on TV. We have all this reality stuff that is negatively impacting our community. So to put something else positive on there was definitely one of my goals, as well as showing a single mother that is going against all odds and making things happen without throwing drinks over the table. So you can still check the episodes out on aspire.tv. And there was actually a season before ours that was in New York too. So ours was in Atlanta. So this franchise will continue to move from city to city.
Okay, that is awesome. Now, and like I said, continuing with the Mimi J media takeover, you were also recently featured on the cover of a magazine. Tell me about that experience. How was that?
Yeah, well, that was actually a total surprise. So, well, my store is in a city in Atlanta called Smyrna, or a metro area of Atlanta called Smyrna Vinings, and they have a city magazine that interviewed me, and so I just thought I was being featured within that magazine, and then the next thing I know, I get an email, oh, by the way, you're on the cover.
Oh my God.
And now I'm getting all kind of texts like, hey, I'm at the gas station, I see you on a magazine, or hey, I'm at Sherwin-Williams, I see you on a magazine. So it's pretty cool, pretty surreal, but pretty cool, especially those days when business gets hard, you know what I mean? And life comes at you hard, but seeing those things are just reminders that you're doing the right thing.
Absolutely. Now, I know you mentioned having a young son. How do you balance all of the moving parts of your life?
Balance. That's a daily or a life goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
The best description that I've ever been given was from Kim Fields. She told me, I asked her that question, like how she balances her life with her family and all the things that she does. And she said it's like being at a circus and walking a tightrope. With every step that you take, you have to readjust.
Oh, wow.
There's no real balance. So I've always kept that because, you can get one routine down and then something happens to throw you off. And that's the thing. It's readjusting each time something's thrown at you. So that's kind of the mantra I've been adopting and going by, and just making sure that I take time for one, my family, but most importantly, taking time for yourself, for your own sanity. So that's just what I've adopted.
Okay. And so what do you do to relax and you practice a little self-care? Oh,
well, I am a goofball. So if it's watching old Martin reruns, anything humorous, I'm going to find humor in life to keep things light. Life is already serious. So I'm definitely someone that's going to watch something funny, or I love music, so that's my therapy as well.
So are there ever times when you feel afraid to step out on faith and to pursue something new, or just to kind of put yourself out there?
I wouldn't say I've ever been afraid. That's one that can be good and bad, right? So I've never been afraid to step out on faith. At the same time, some of that could have been premature, But I've always gone with, if it makes sense, go for it. Don't second guess yourself. But sometimes, we kind of rush into things, and yes, it's a great idea. And yes, you should do it, but do it with the right timing. Don't rush into things. So I guess that's another balancing act, right? Having some great idea and having the faith and or the courage to go for it, but at the same time, taking your time and really planning that thing at the same time. So I think that's all of a balance.
And when you come up on certain roadblocks and challenges, how do you overcome those?
So I have what I call my personal advisory board. And I think that everyone, whether you're in business or not, even as a personal, you should comprise an advisory board or a trust of people that you trust that are actually experts in the areas that you go to them for. Okay. So if I have struggles in my finance area, I have a friend who is a guru in finance that I know that I could go to her about. Even with relationships, though, now, some of this might cost you, but I have a friend who, is in psychology, so just coming up with the people that you trust that will give you an unbiased and true answer that love and support you. that when I have those situations come up, I know that I can always go to someone in my personal advisory board of people to help me get through it.
Okay. How do you stay motivated when it comes to, like, say, for instance, if there's a slowdown during the season, or if you're just not sometimes getting as much work as you normally do? How do you stay motivated?
I got a really simple answer to that, and that's looking at your bank account. Looking at your bank account will keep you motivated to go out there and do something.
Hey, that's real though. That's real. That is real.
You don't have the luxury to just sit around and be mopey.
That is very, very real.
But no, besides looking, that is real though. But besides looking at your bank account, I'm a big person of keeping positive images around me. So of course, like, I have a vision board that I've created like 3 or 4 years ago, and I don't recreate a new one. I just, like, cross out the stuff I've already accomplished and add some stuff, and the stuff that I didn't, it just stays there. So I see that it's hanging up in my house. So, I just try to keep my eyes on the prize of things that I want to accomplish. And, don't let the distractions derail me from those. It happens where you have these moments, and, hey, it's okay. You have a moment, you have a breakdown, you cry. That's okay. You got about 5-10 minutes to get it together, and then you move on.
Absolutely. So what does success look like for you in terms of your business? So at what point, or do you feel there's a point where you can kind of look at your life, look at your businesses, and say, you know what, mama, I made it?
So that is a very good question, right? Because success looks different to you at different stages in your life. Success to me at one point was, I need this amount of followers, I need this amount in sales, and I need this amount of celebrities to walk through the Glamatory. That at one point, that was success to me. Now success to me is more, what do you leave behind in your legacy? How does your family view you? How do your friends view you? To me, that means success. Also, happiness means success to me, because you can have all the money in the world and still be miserable. You can, get all these acclimates and all these awards and still be unhappy. So I'm at that stage of my life. Of course, money is great, but I'm at that stage right now where those other things mean more to me.
Absolutely. And so, and what does your family think about this? What does your mom think to see you on the cover of a magazine and on TV and everything? Like, what does she think about that?
They're super proud. They're super proud of me. That I come from a very loving family, and I'm blessed to say that. And they're always supportive. They may not understand in the beginning some of my movements, but when they see things like that, they can nod and say, okay, I get it.
Yeah, for sure. So where do you see the Glamatory in, let's say, 5 years?
Well, hopefully it can grow into different cities. So I would love to expand the Glamatory and expand my product offerings as well, and seek out some really great artists in some other cities. So hopefully that will happen pretty soon.
Okay. And what about Grind Pretty? Where do you see Grind Pretty in about 5 years?
I have so many great things in the works, some that I can't really talk about yet, but I do plan to really grow that platform a lot, and hopefully be able to reach masses of women and let that be inspiration for a lot of women. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see what happens.
Absolutely. Now, I know you've worked with so many celebrities. Who would you love to work for?
Oh, that's so very hard. My bucket list of people to have a conversation with and do beauty with definitely be, Michelle Obama, Oprah, Beyonce, and Rihanna. Like Rihanna don't sleep on her. Like she's really come to a whole nother level. Like this Fenty thing, like it started with Puma and now, the sales of her beauty line is crazy. So I commend her on that. So those would be my like Mount Rushmore of people I want to sit in my chair.
Okay, listen, I understand that. And especially, like you said, Rihanna, she definitely has come a long way, because this Fenty is, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. It's like every time I look on social media, whether it's Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, somebody's talking about, oh, I went and got my Fenty.
Yes,
she's releasing this and that.
They sold out. Like, yes.
Yeah. So is there any advice that you would give to someone who wants to start their own business, but they just don't know where to begin?
So many things, but one thing that's on my heart, that I've had a couple of people come to me about is disappointment, right? And especially disappointment from people that you love. So whether it's family members or friends or spouses or whatnot, it's disappointment in them not supporting your ideas or what you want to do. And my advice to that is, what has been given to you has been given to you from God. And I'm sorry if I'm getting religious, but what has been given to you is part of your purpose. And out of love, they don't understand. So it doesn't mean that they don't love you or care about you. It's just that they don't understand, and it's not for them to understand. It was a vision that was given to you. So you find your advisory board of people who support, understand, and love you as well. Even if there are entrepreneurs that are like-minded as you, surround yourself with those people in the process, because later when those things come to fruition, those same people that didn't understand are going to see then. So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Okay, and that is sound advice indeed. And you know what? I actually heard something very similar from Lisa Nichols, and someone asked, because she's been out there with The Secret and her books and everything, and she said that she's a bestseller, and she realized that a lot of her family members have never read her books. Mm-hmm. And she said that she went over one family member's house and they were using it to prop up one of their tables. Here she is, a multi-millionaire. She's been on TV. She's been with Oprah and whoever else. And she said she had to come to terms with, just like you said, her vision was given to her, not them. So that is very, very sound advice. Thank you so much for that. So where can we find you on social media?
Yes. So the gateway to all things Mimi is at Mimi J online, MIMIJ online, as well as the Glamatory, which is spelled GLAMTORY. And you can also find me at Grind Pretty.
Okay. And guys, if you happen to be in the Atlanta area, check her out at the Glamatory. Check her out online. Mimi, thank you so much for joining me today, and I wish you so much success in the future.
Thank you so much for having me, Jill.
Keep making everybody proud in Kansas City.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on your podcast, and best wishes to you as well.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
That concludes this episode of the Black Synergy Podcast. To learn more about Mimi and all of her business ventures, check out the show notes at blacksynergypodcast.com/podcast. Thanks for listening. If you haven't subscribed, the podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, and TuneIn Radio. Please subscribe and leave a review. And don't forget to follow the show at Black Synergy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for listening.